All frucked up, June 28th, 2025. This is like day 55 on the sugar diet, even though my version of the sugar diet has come to include a lot of starches. So, and I don't mean like a wide variety, just primarily sweet potatoes and jasmine rice. But those two, because I've been severely fructose intolerant, 50 some days ago, it was terrible. Severely fructose intolerant at the outset, and then getting better by degrees. I finally was like, well, the primary focus for me is the low fat component. Just to vet that out, I dropped 121 pounds on low carb and fasting. I feel good on a low fat diet, and it was really about tweaking the carbohydrates, which I'm still tweaking, and I'll eventually phase sugar back in and ramp up the fructose. Any case, the theory that I'm playing around with now is to just have like breakfast and dinner, because after breakfast, once the food is metabolized, assimilated, digested, however you want to say it, then all that energy from within our body that is diverted, if you will, to the function of digestion, all that energy should then be available for repairing tissues in the body, that sort of thing. So I don't want to just chronically be stuffing food into my face. I'm not eating every 2 hours. I'm not even doing the 3 meals a day, every day. I think there's value in not having solid food sitting in your gut at intervals all the time, frequent intervals. Even 3 meals a day might be pushing it. It's just something for me to play around with. I always need some new shiny object to play with, and this is that new shiny object, skipping lunch. I mean, at least abstaining from solid food so that my body can just rest the digestive system throughout the day, have my dinner, and then my body can rest and digest through the night. Maybe there's some value there. I want to vet that out. Resting the digestive tract. Also, when it comes to like any of this white rice that I've been cooking, lately it's been, like I say, jasmine rice primarily. But you can see massive upticks in your weight depending on the amount of rice that you eat. There's the water that's been absorbed into the rice as it cooked. You've got the mass of the rice itself. Like I've seen swings from, if I weighed in at, say, even in the 268 range, and then get on the scale after the meal, it's nothing for me to be setting north of like 271 pounds. And then, depending on bowel motility, how quick you have an event, we'll call it, in the morning, if I don't have my bowels like working promptly when I roll out of bed, then I might get on the scale and it's like, wow, I'm still holding weight. But then, the bowels do move and the weight does come right back down. So just be prepared for the mass of the meal to potentially affect your weigh-ins depending on bowel motility and timing of when you're getting on the scale versus when you're sitting on the throne. So another thing that I was kind of playing around with, are the fact that like human beings have multiple appetites, right? There's our sexual appetite, there's our appetite for food. And while this channel has been primarily up to this point focused on, diet, what we're feeding ourselves, I think it's also important to mention what we're feeding our mind, because mindset determines, I would say, the large percentage of almost anything we do, from social interactions to what we think we're worthy of, what we think we're capable of. So if you're having a down day, if you're just feeling like the scale feedback wasn't all that great, and somehow you've let yourself down, or You feel like the whole process was some function of delusion. Like, yeah, I thought I was going to lose weight this time. And look, the scale still stalled out. And you're getting stuck in your head and you're getting in these negative thought loops. Like, break that cycle. Put something inspirational on, whether it's a book, whether it's music, whatever. Get into scripture if that's your thing. Listen to something that inspires you in that regard, because in those moments when we feel down, when we feel at our lowest, when we feel defeated sometimes even, I think it's really important to like bootstrap, like be your own best friend, be a friend to yourself. Treat yourself like someone that you care about. And, put something on, feed your mind something that's going to, yes, boost your mood, but also maybe impact the way that you're thinking about things, so that you can reframe the situation and shift your thinking to a positive, rather than being stuck and discouraged and that sort of thing. I think that's so important, what we feed our mind. It's not just about what we feed our body, it's about what we feed our mind. And also, it's really come to the fore in the recent years. It's a thing that almost everybody's talking about, which is, childhood trauma, PTSD, and that sort of thing. And to my way of thinking, we live in a world of duality, light, dark, positive, negative, all that, all the opposites, right? So for there to be post-traumatic stress disorder, maybe there's something on the other end of that spectrum. And there was two authors, Tedeschi and Calhoun, that they put forward the idea of like post-traumatic growth, where we end up having unexpected and obscure benefits from situations that were very adverse, caused trauma, etc. And I find that that's, in my own personal life, I think that's unlocked over time. I don't think it's like this thing where you're traumatized and you just roll out of bed the next day and you're like, I'm going to go succeed at life. Not saying that couldn't happen. Probably has, if for no other reason than someone going, you know what, fuck you and that situation that you put me through, and I'm going to show you. That can be a driver of personal growth, personal accomplishment, for sure. But in my own life, I think it's been slowly unlocked by degrees. It's now that my mom's gone and I'm settling her estate, I've been reading through a lot of papers and letters and various correspondence that she had. A lot of times with lawyers, because she had a nasty habit of getting into lawsuits. But I do have a new appreciation for her personality. I was the unplanned child, and she was not shy about reminding me of that. But she also had a lot of positives, a long list of positive attributes too. So yeah, I have a new appreciation for my mom, and she and I were like oil and water. Oil and water. It was so bad. But I think that happened at a specific age, and it was when my mom got caught up in some of these lawsuits that she was having. And I distinctly remember her saying to me one time, you were such a happy child. What happened? And it's like, looking back, I should have been the kid across the kitchen table that went, well, you used me as an emotional crutch. And that kind of took some of the wind out of my sails. But yeah, the features of a malignant narcissist were certainly present, and that is my non-professional, non-clinical assessment. But there were definitely features of a malignant narcissist, and it impacted me in some ways, I'm sure. But I think it's also been a primary driver for wanting to fix whatever. Like, at some point I thought, okay, there's something broken inside my skull. There's something wrong with how I'm thinking about life. And the acceptance that came after that, when I realized, okay, maybe the problem's me, maybe it's the way I'm thinking about things, and then just start really, like decompiling. If you're familiar with programming a computer, like getting into my own operating system and like decompiling it and getting it down to the base programming, and looking at, okay, where can I make improvements, what needs fixed, to what extent was I complicit in situations that were not something that I liked or appreciated at the time. But it's like, what's the lesson? What's the takeaway? And I think there's a lot of value in being introspective and taking some personal responsibility, because, yeah, I mean, it takes two to tango, right? That's the old saying. So a lot of times we are complicit in our own, man, I don't know if I want to say abuse, because that goes too far. But my point with all of this is post-traumatic growth can definitely happen when you use the trauma or the adversity to like take a step back, look at the situation, and then notice how things could have gone differently, how things could have been handled better. And then once you have that awareness of how things could have worked out in a better way, then you can, like make a point or a promise even to yourself that if a situation like that arises again, that you would handle it differently, or that you would be more stoic and not so emotionally involved in things. But yeah, I do think that the things that happen to us do happen to us for a reason, generally. I'm not talking about being the victim of a crime, something like that, but like low level stressors, low level interactions that don't go well, how we're raised within our family, and yeah, with a little hindsight and with some awareness, hindsight can be 20/20. There's some lessons that you can take away, and then I think that can be used as fuel for future success. And then the permutations of how I grew up have been in hindsight, very valuable. So I'm way off topic as far as like diet goes, but I do think that the weight loss begins with mindset above all else. And that might apply across the board, but this is a channel about health and wellness. Let's not forget our own mental health in the process, right? Let's not get down on ourselves, because most of what we do boils down to our mindset. Most of our personality boils down to how we're thinking and feeling about ourselves. Most of our moods, are derived from, how we feel. If we wake up and we have an ache or a pain, or we stub our toe, or we've got a headache or whatever, we can let that affect our interactions with other human beings. But it's not their fault that things are going the way they're going for you. So, try not to turn them into the whipping boy. Try not to beat somebody up over, your current situation that day. And definitely don't be so hard on yourself. Self-love is so important. And even if you don't love the mirror feedback, even if you don't love how you currently feel, you're going to have a hard time rising above your current mindset and your current level of self-love. So with that, I think I'll close. But it's so important to bring awareness to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, and feed your mind positive information. And then, just be patient with yourself. We're all fallible humans. We're all fallible humans. So, just be patient with yourself, right? Reparent yourself if you need to, but definitely treat yourself like someone that you care about. So, hope you had a great day. See ya.